Who's the co-founder of a new startup called Fivetran, which I'm pretty excited about. It's integration as a service.
Yeah.
But he's going to show some stuff with Salesforce Lightning Connect,
yes.
which I personally haven't seen, so I'm looking forward to checking that out.
Yeah, thank you, David. All right, I am going to just jump in. I don't really have any slides or anything here, so. All right, here we go. So, let's see if I can, I'm just going to put all my screens on here. All right, next slide. Oh, sorry guys, I'm just getting used to this. So basically, hello everyone, how's everyone doing today? It's Wednesday, it's been a long day I'm sure for everyone. I appreciate you guys all bearing with me here. So, what is Fivetran? Let's go into full screen. I'm just going to walk over here and show you. So this is just our website. And what Fivetran is integrations as a service. So we integrate into Amazon Redshift. We pull data from all of your various cloud and database solutions. So this diagram kind of shows that off. We connect to, say, Salesforce, Marketo, MailChimp, RelateIQ, Postgres, pretty much anywhere that you have data. We actually just added data collectors as well. So if you're collecting Google Analytics code, we actually just created a Google Analytics code that will grab actually the row level data from your websites. You know, like what is traffic coming, all that kind of stuff. Like what are your page views, and then we'll also connect to your various databases as well. And what we do is we grab as much data from each of these sources as we possibly can. We suck it into a data warehouse for you on Amazon Redshift. Does anyone know what Redshift is? Has anyone heard of Redshift before? We've got two people. So in the space of data warehousing, 3 or 4 years ago, if you wanted to build a data warehouse, if you wanted to collect a lot of data, you'd have to go call Oracle or call one of those other guys, and you'd have to pay them like 10% of your revenue maybe to actually get one of their databases online. Amazon has released this tool called Amazon Redshift, which is a 1/10 to 1/100th the cost to store data than even 2 years ago. So what that has kind of done in the data space is it's made data analysis a lot more approachable for a lot of smaller companies. And so kind of the traditional enterprise data pipeline was that at some point you hire a whole team, you put together this pipeline that brings all of your data into your data warehouse, you then build like a data mart on top of that, and then you build your analytics layer on top of that. And so what Redshift has kind of done is they've kind of they've changed that whole, they've kind of revolutionized how the entire data space works, especially for smaller companies, right? Company size is 50 to 500, because you no longer have to hire an entire team to do your data warehousing. Now I broke it. Oh, brother. Well, anyways, so I'll just keep talking and then we'll come back to it. So you no longer really have to buy or to hire a massive team to help you pull together this awesome data pipeline. They're like a bunch of smaller tools that will help you, for instance, us. And what you can do is you bring it all together, and then there's a lot of tools you can put directly on top of your data warehouse. So you can grab Tableau, there's Looker, there's Chartio, there's a number of different tools, very specific tools to help you then take all this data and actually do something with it. So what we do is we just help you collect all this data. What we saw as a pain point was that most companies, when you get to a certain size, as we're seeing generally somewhere between 100 and 400 people, there's this huge incentive to use the data that you're collecting, and you kind of hit up against the walls of the internal dashboards that you can build inside of Salesforce or inside of Marketo or inside of Google Analytics or any of these things. And what you start to discover is that actually a lot of the insights that you can pull from this is from combining these data sources, right? So you want to know are all the tickets that we're doing in Zendesk, are the customers actually our lowest paying tier of customers? So the only way you can do that is just by connecting either your internal database that has what plan each of these customers are on, or each of these users, and your Zendesk data, which are in their own little silos, and there's really no way to get them together unless you combine them in a data warehouse. And that really wasn't possible for smaller companies because it just wasn't price affordable until a year and a half ago. So we're kind of like riding the wave of this like awesome Amazon Redshift coming out. So does anyone have questions? I kind of just like ran through that really quickly. We are, again, you can think of us as like data plumbers, basically. We grab all the data from everywhere, we just like plumb it into like a single warehouse for you.
So do you keep actual separate data within your, like, so if you pull in 5 different sources, do you have 5x the data inside of the warehouse? Or do you somehow...
So like, we pull absolutely every piece of data you can. So like, say you have 3 gigabytes of data in Salesforce, we will pull all 3 gigabytes of data and put it into your data warehouse. So your data warehouse will now have 3 gigabytes of data.
Okay.
And if you have 5 gigabytes in your Marketo, we will grab all 5 of those and we'll bring it into your data warehouse. And we'll do this right now. We had it on nightly updates. Now it does it every 6 hours, and we'll be down to like in the next like month, we'll be down to like every 15 minutes updating the data. And so what a lot of the companies that use us do is that they pipe all this data into a data warehouse, and then they'll build their analytics layer on top of it with again like Chartio or Looker or one of those guys, and then their data is up to date, and their dashboards are all up to date, and they can ask very specific questions of this data. It doesn't look like the most technical crowd, but I'm going to walk through. I'm going to just show you a demo of signing up for our service, connecting Salesforce, connecting Redshift, and then actually just showing you some of the data inside of Redshift. And then so that's kind of demo 1. Demo 2 is just going to be actually using this thing called Lightning Connect, which is brand new from Salesforce. And what it is actually taking the data from within your data warehouse and piping it back into Salesforce. And I'll explain a little bit more of why that's a really awesome, important thing in a second. So let me just see here. Okay. Okay. It's tough because I'm not used to this. All right, here we go. I am going to start from the very beginning here, and we're just going to create an account. We're going to call it Taylor. Plus so you guys are getting the full soup to nuts demo here. What?
What's your password?
Can you see it? No, you can't see it. Okay, let's see what happens here. All right, I just have to go over and confirm this really quickly. I seem to have lost my other page, so. All right. Gmail. You guys can see all my emails here. And there we go. And we're going to call this demo. So now we have an account. You land here. Okay, great. And it says, okay, let's connect an Amazon Redshift data warehouse. And we're like, okay, great, here we go. So there's a bunch of instructions here for adding security rules and things like this. When you're working with databases, it's pretty straightforward. But I already kind of have this stuff. Actually, I don't. So I'm going to go to Amazon. So you guys. I'm going to show you kind of how easy the whole hookup process is. One of the big things that didn't go to the right one. Let's go to AWS. Here we go. Okay. So one of the things that like differentiates us from a lot of the other kind of competitors or other people in the space is that like you can connect us, and within, as you'll see, 5 minutes, everything will be moved for you. Versus having to build this yourself, which would take months, or setting up with someone who do this for you, which also would take months. So let's go to Redshift. And grab this guy. So you guys can see all the fun stuff. some of these things. 5432. Database is called demo. User. Let's go back over here. Usernames, developers. And password is this really hairy long thing that I have to write. I apologize for this, guys. Look at that. Feel free to give a joke in the meantime. Actually, I've got one. Is Rhode Island a road or an island? You tell me. No, I forgot where I'm at. We'll try it. All right, so we connected. Great, done. Now, let's go connect Salesforce. So once that's connected, we go over here, we say, let's go to Salesforce. Let's connect here. I'm going to as developers. I don't actually know what my password is, so here we go. Oops. Apologize. Actually, if you guys haven't used this tool before, it's really helpful. It's called melding. Let's see. So basically, shoot. Here we go.
Good old Salesforce.
I wonder, maybe I can log into my other account. Let's just try that one. Good old Salesforce.
Gymnastic. That's how you build your muscles?
What? Bringing this, it's yeah. Let's try it. Let's see if it works. Ah, well. Actually, I can get this one. This will be easier. Do you guys? Does this happen to you guys every day?
Oh, never.
Never.
Never in front of an audience.
Okay. Well, hopefully it.
Hopefully it'll work.
You could disconnect the screen visual while you look up your password. So we're not all.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this will work. So here we go. Let's go back. And I'm going to say, let's connect. It's basically going to authenticate and say, let's allow this. And then, that's it. We're connected. And now let's wait a second for the connection to take. Maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds. So what it's doing now is it's just saying, okay, great. I'm connected to Salesforce. I'm connecting to Redshift. And then it's going to pull everything we have from this account into our data warehouse. So
if you have a terabyte of data, how long would it take to pull it in?
Terabyte would probably take a week.
No, I mean, I didn't ask, because that's usually, the pipe is usually one of the biggest.
Sure. The problem with the terabyte of data, of Salesforce data, is because Salesforce has built, they're built on top of Oracle, which is this really fast database, but they've built this hodgepodge of spaghetti code on top of that, so they're extremely slow. Actually, when you try and pull a lot of data out.
So that's where a lot of the bottom that comes.
It's not. It's not the bandwidth issue. It's the fact that they don't have the best API. Well, they actually have a really good API. They just don't have the best export API.
Yeah. Also throttle the rate too, just so it doesn't overwhelm their systems.
Yeah. So now what you can see is you see here a list of these. You see all these tables, and what these are all the tables you have in Salesforce. So we grab. I don't have that many in this account because we don't really use Salesforce that much internally, but as you can see, so what it's done is this has created a schema inside of your database in Redshift that now has all of the data that was just put into there. I can show you quickly. Does this work? I don't know what's going on here. I'm trying to move this over, but it's not going to work. So you just have to take my word for it. So that's kind of like just the bread and butter of like, now you've seen how it works. This is, for those of you who have done any sort of data integrations before, it's a whole lot easier to go through this than to write it yourself. So does anyone have questions on how that works?
You say you can drill down to the fields on each table?
Well, so these are just these are the tables themselves, but all the row level fields are actually inside. Here, I'll show you.
Can you see those?
If I can, yeah. Let me just. I don't know why. There we go. So, window. So you can see part of my window. Basically what this is a terminal, and, oh man, which terminal am I in right now? Somehow all my stuff got screwed up. So we're gonna do \q, enter, we're gonna go, so I'm just gonna like log into the database here, and do,
Taylor, is it all or nothing? Like, do you just suck down the entire Salesforce database, or can you choose part of it?
We take down everything that you give to the user that you connect.
Okay.
You can limit the access of what like tables you want, depending on whatever permissions you give to that specific user.
Okay.
In Salesforce.
In Salesforce. So we'll take absolutely everything you give us access to, including every custom table, any other like, random things you've connected to that. We will grab everything. And then it's just up to you to give or limit the access that you want.
And all the fields and all the rows of that table.
Yeah, and including the history tables. So for instance, if you want to like pull together a snapshot of like how your sales funnel was doing last January, you can like get down to the exact day and you can reconstitute that. So let's do /dt. So what this is doing, this is showing you, like, okay, here's the list of all the tables that you have inside of here. Basically, this is exactly what I showed you in the UI that we had. Now what I'm going to do is just show you, I'm just going to make a query here. I guess the other big thing is that now, by pulling all of your data from Salesforce into Redshift, which is just an SQL database, you have so much more power to do whatever you want in terms of like analytical queries, right? So I don't know if you guys have used SQL before, but it's pretty hard to use in order to like really dig into your data, and it's a pretty big limitation. So this just gives you the full power of SQL, which is basically what most analysts would want. Underscore count. And okay. Let's see what happens here. So this is just the row level data. Obviously, there's not very much in here, but this is just like pulling it and just showing you that all of all of the contacts that you have inside of Salesforce are now inside of your data warehouse. So again, it's really just the companies that are using this, or a lot of our clients are like roughly 350 people, and they just have like they have a small data team, and for them being able to pull all this data in very, very quickly allows them to kind of build all of their dashboards and ask very specific questions about it very, very quickly. So any questions about that?
About version control.
Version control. Version control of what?
Data, let's say,
Sure.
for some reason we need to back out for the current version, we need to back the data.
Gotcha. So we don't do, at this point, we don't do any historical tables ourselves. We've been thinking about adding that. But Salesforce, for instance, they have their own history tables. So we pull all of that data as well. So again, if you wanted to constitute and say like what did our Salesforce look like exactly on this date, you can go back to that date, building a view on top of the history tables and everything else. So that makes it really useful if you want to say like, okay, how are we performing on this date versus this date, or this range versus this range. Not all of the different sources that we collect from, not all of them have as good of history tables as Salesforce does. Okay, so the second thing I'm going to show you is kind of this thing called Lightning Connect. What Lightning Connect is, it seems like really is the backbone of what Salesforce is kind of moving into at Salesforce 2.0, from my understanding, is really about being a very open platform, about integrating very easily with lots of other components and lots of other tools, and very, being super open. And so they just released this, I believe, in January, and we built a whole system around it. What it's kind of primarily used for a lot of our customers is specifically one or two of them, is that they've gotten so big that they have, I think, over 100 gigabytes now of data inside of Salesforce. And 100 gigabytes at, I think, $3,000 or $4,000 per gigabyte starts to get very expensive very quickly. And so for them, what they're interested in doing, what they do is they have their own internal database that they're collecting data and they have their own stuff, and then they have all this data inside of Salesforce that they've just offloaded into their data warehouse. So they're no longer paying the amount of money that they were paying to Salesforce before. Don't tell Salesforce that I'm promoting this, but whatever. And they combine all that stuff, and then we pull it back into their Salesforce accounts for them. Because what we do is we essentially, as I'll show you, we transform regular SQL or just the UI into querying your own data warehouse and pulling all that data as you need it in real time back into Salesforce. So I'll show you an example of that. Let's see. How do I get back to this? There we go. Okay. So I may need to connect with my other user, but we'll see. Okay, so what we're seeing here now is public and Salesforce. These are, Salesforce is the table I just showed you. This is essentially the schema inside of our data warehouse. So if we go back to this, you can see when I just showed you the account table, and what we have to do is we just have to connect and show which tables we want to make available inside of Salesforce. Essentially what we're saying is like, Salesforce, what do we want you to be able to discover inside of our data warehouse? So I'm going to call this SF data, and I'm going to give it a password of Salesforce rocks. See what happens. All right, good. And then, so what this is just some kind of random data that we pulled together. It's ticket data. It's about venues. So say you want to make this available to all of your Salesforce users. So we're going to go and we're just going to say, okay, let's export this. Actually, venue ID is our primary key. Let's export this. Let's see. Okay, cool. We're good. Now let's go to Salesforce. And let's go to develop, to external data sources. Let's create a new data source. Oh, I know why this is working. So I have to log into my other one, which is unfortunate. I may actually have that. I think I may have access to that one as well. Sorry, guys. The old Salesforce issue here. Login thing. Shoot. Let's see. Wait. It's gonna work. Dates. Yes. All right, I got it. Okay, so let's try this again. Back to setup, back to develop, and let's go to external data sources. Let's go to new external data source. This one is called Salesforce data, and this is Lightning Connect. URL is So these are just a few quick things here. We called this stuff data, and the password was Salesforce rocks, right? Okay. All right, now validate and sync. Cool. Venue. That was the one you guys remember. Back over here, we chose let's make venue available. Great. Now let's sync. Syncing, syncing, syncing. Cool. Now we're set. Okay. So now what we can do is we can go over here, and in our external data objects, we can go and view this, and we can see all of the data that is available. So there's all these different things here. You can go in and kind of take a look. The kind of cooler thing, so that's a little bit more high level because this is just like all the database information. The cool thing is that you say you want to look for anything with New York. So we're going to go and second, search all. So what just happened there is all this data was just pulled in from your data warehouse. And you can click in and you can see all the information about all this. Just searching for it is not maybe the coolest thing, but the way our clients are doing it is that they will connect an external object ID to an internal object ID. And then when you have a lead or something else, you can then build all this other information around it and pack it inside of your data warehouse. And then you click you just click your link, and it will automatically fill the rest of the information inside of Salesforce. What's happening is the really powerful part about it is it's not saving this data inside of Salesforce. All it's doing is essentially loading this data right into it. And so you can actually go here back to Amazon. You can go and look inside of your Redshift console here. And you can say, look at, my window's kind of, I can't scroll right, so I can't actually get to it. I don't know why that is, but basically, here we go. Okay. So what this is going to do is it's going to show us the queries that were made in the last hour, and sometimes it doesn't update. What this is doing is it's essentially taking all the stuff that you're doing inside of Salesforce, like the search that I just did, and it's turning them into an actual SQL query, and it's going and grabbing all that information. And now only on like 3 or 4, the small amount of tickets and things we have in here, that it doesn't really show the power of it. Where it becomes really powerful is when you have a team of 400 sales guys or girls, or a team of them just all trying to work this out, and you can start to blend and put all this important other data that you have that about each of these companies. Like for instance, are they using a ton of your Zendesk time, right? Are they is this specific company, are you guessing they're going to cost more or whatever, right? So you can kind of build your own analytics around that, and then you can pull it all back into Salesforce. So what we do is we're really just like the connectors of all this data for you, and then we let you guys build your own kind of platform and analytics on top of that. And we've partnered with a number of tools like Looker or Chartio, Tableau, and those guys really help you also kind of build out your analytics layer on top of that stuff.
ClickView, one of them?
ClickView's not a partner of ours yet. I've actually talked to those guys. I think that they are maybe a little bit higher market for what we're kind of going after initially. The Redshift users are a lot of, because it's all cloud data warehousing, it's generally the smaller companies that are like 50 to 1,000 people. And as people are moving over to Redshift, just because the cost is so much better, and as like cloud is becoming more and more acceptable, we'll kind of probably start to see more partnerships with those types of tools. Yeah, questions? Any other questions?
Well, I've got a scenario just because I think I understand what's going on here.
Sure.
But let's say we've got a software as a service business, and our business is largely running on production. How much data is getting ingested by our different accounts. None of it which is visible in Salesforce.
Right.
There's the opportunity is really a rate card of what we might be billing. So if we push everything which is in a Jira SQL database system into Redshift, and then we build an object in Salesforce, let's say under that opportunity, it could reach in and give the sales rep up-to-date information about what's ingested on a daily basis. Really get a feel for what's going on with that particular deal.
Yeah, I mean, what type of database do you have again?
For our hosting system.
Well, yeah, like,
where's
it's a SQL server.
Yeah.
So we haven't made a full connection yet with SQL Server. We have Postgres and MySQL at this point. We're working on SQL Server, but what it would come down to is once we have that, then we would pull all that data in on every 10 to 15 minutes, refresh that data. And then anytime that a user, one of your sales reps logs in, all of that information would be available under each lead, so long as you link the objects correctly.
Well, that's sort of the key for any type of cloud integration is that the ID.
Right.
So the assumption is that your other SQL databases or other data sources, there's going to be some.
You have to have some sort of identifying. Some way of identifying it. Yeah. But so long as you have that, then it's, we, out of the box, can basically connect this system and you're off the races. So, yeah. Anyone else? Any other thoughts?
Okay. So basically, you suck in all the data and you can send it back out to Salesforce. Or is there any sort of integration or transformation capabilities inside?
So we don't, as we pull stuff out of Salesforce, we do a tiny bit of transformation, just data cleaning, so that it works out of the box inside of Salesforce, or inside of Redshift. Because Redshift has some slight parameters and some slight things. So like, for instance, like all the dates come out of Salesforce in a slightly interesting way.
Right.
We format all that so that they're perfect.
Okay.
And same with coming out of all the different data sources, we will handle nulls in the correct way. We do all that stuff. Which we would call it's like a little bit more, it's the ETL layer. Yeah. But quite honestly, our belief and our thought in terms of how data, kind of your data pipeline should be set up is traditionally it was ETL. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, where there was you extract all the data, you transform it in some way and the reason you transform it is because it's too expensive to store it all because you're paying for an Oracle database. So you're okay, let's just transform it and put it into a format of the size of exactly what we want, and then let's load it into that database, and then we have essentially a cube or something else that's pre-aggregated data that you can then access, and it's very fast to access. The way that Redshift has kind of revolutionized that is that it's you extract all that data and you just clean it slightly, and then you just store it in a very flat level inside of a data warehouse because it's cheap enough now that you can just store all of it. And so instead of doing this weird transformation BS, you just store it in its most pristine state, so that you always have a record of exactly what happened. And then you take a tool like Looker or something else, and you build these views on top of it. Right. And the views, partially because the data warehouse is so fast that there's no reason to do any pre-aggregation. So then you build these views on top of that, and inside of Looker, for instance, this is part of their whole offering. They will come in, they'll help you put together an entire model set for each things that you're interested in. And then you just kind of put your dashboards on top of that. So they're really, in our opinion, for a lot of the data sources at least that we see, there is no need for a full transformation layer anymore. That may be a little too much, but I'm going deep on the data stuff.
Cool.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time and for staying listening to me. Our website is fivetran.com. I have some handout things if you guys want them, but feel free to talk to me, I guess, now.
And why are you called Fivetran?
Do any of you guys know Fortran?
Oh,
We're like the next generation of data analysis. It's like our whole thing. Most people don't actually get that, so
Yeah.
very, very old school. Yeah.
oh, that's a good one. Now I get it. I'm so slow.
You'll play on word there.
So you're the one who came up with the name?
My co-founder actually came up with it. He's definitely the more technical of the two of us. He's the trained kind of PhD data scientist guy and undergrad in computer science. He's the nerd, I'll be honest. And I'm more of the let's get out and talk to people and stuff.
That's good.